This week we solved the war on drugs. We figured it out. We did. And I don't mean we figured out how to stop people from doing drugs. We didn't do that at all. All right. The only way to do that is to make drugs a lot less fun. Like so much less fun. No, I mean we solved how the war on drugs got started. Because if you're watching this show, you probably already know that the war on drugs is insane. It's crazier than Mariah Carey on drugs. It has locked millions of people behind bars for nonviolent crimes. It's destroyed lives and has made the United States the country with the highest incarceration rate in the world. In terms of the stupidity of U.S. law, our drug laws are second only to Illinois' 2012 statute making it illegal to have sex with a corpse. Because that means it was legal until 2012, and not a single complaint. Not a single corpse complained, all right? Not the one. I'm just saying, I'm sure the dating market for a corpse is very difficult to begin with, and then you gotta make it illegal. It's not cool. Is it that different from giving someone mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? You know? I'm just saying maybe you can a guy back to life. Maybe you can't. I don't know. It's not in the science books. It's not. They don't know. They don't know. I mean, if anything's gonna wake up the dead, it's probably a surprise in the ass. That's all I'm saying. But back to the war on drugs. How did it come about? Well, author Dan Baum this week revealed a 1994 quote from former Nixon policy advisor John Ehrlichman, who told him the Nixon White House had two enemies, the anti-war left and black people. By getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. We could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Jesus Christ, man! You can't say that stuff out loud! And look, yes, a lot of people already assumed this was the case. When I posted this quote on Facebook, half the comments were, well, duh. But there's a difference between assuming this and hearing it out of the dude's face. When they found the Titanic on the ocean floor, did you go, well, duh? I knew it was down there. I told my friends, I bet you ocean floor. Point is, how the does the drug war continue to go on? If a company finds out that a product of theirs is dangerous, it's illegal to continue to sell it. CEO Stuart Parnell is serving 28 years in jail for knowingly selling salmonella-tainted peanut butter that killed 9 people. So isn't the war on drugs a defective product? Destroying millions of lives created out of pure hatred and racism? If you continue to push this product, as have Obama, Bush, Clinton, Clinton again, I think. Aren't you as guilty as Stuart Parnell? And most importantly, if Nixon hated hippies, couldn't he have made fucking patchouli oil illegal instead of marijuana? Everyone would have loved him then. Wow, patchouli fans in the audience. All right. All right. Whatever floats your boat.
We're just enforcing the law. The law is wrong. You must step up and say the law is wrong. If you want to heal the rift between the people and the police, which they don't want to heal it. If they did, the first step is so simple. Like adults, you stand up and you say, the war on drugs is a complete and utter failure. The war on drugs is a war against the American people. The war on drugs is a racist war. And you take responsibility for it being a complete and utter failure and say, and it needs to stop now. There's an epidemic of heroin, opioid overdoses, opioid deaths because The war on drugs is a gateway to becoming addicted because you have to hide it. If you cops really, you say, oh, we just want to get home to our families. That's our main goal, is getting home to our families after our shifts. We just, which isn't, because they go to bars after their shifts, so we're clear. We just want to get home to our families. If that is your real priority, how much safer will you be if we end the war on drugs? How much safer will you be approaching a driver that you just pulled over when that driver knows you're not going to ruin their life because they had a little bag of weed on them? Okay? How much safer are you cops going to be if you're not kicking in people's front doors to bust up some bullshit? Because if you end the war on drugs, then people will go to the store to get their drugs. The recreational marijuana shops in Washington State are making more money than they can count on a weekly basis. Okay? The Green Thumb outlaws are going away. If you really care about getting home to your families, cops, you know the war on drugs is a complete failure, a complete waste of resources. All you politicians who stand up there over and over and over again and say, if we can just save one child's life, it will be worth it. If you end the war on drugs now, today, you will save thousands of children's lives. Next year, thousands and thousands and thousands of children's lives whose lives will not be destroyed because of some overzealous cop caught him with a joint. And you say, I'm just doing my job. I'm just enforcing the laws. The law is wrong. You politicians are responsible for inflicting this pain on millions of Americans on a daily basis. You politicians are scum. Those people who want to blame the cops really aren't responsible. They really are enforcing the laws that the politicians make them enforce. I'm not trying to take any responsibility off the cops. Cops, you have to admit that you've been in the wrong all this time. You have to stop this shit with, oh, well, here's $1 million, but we didn't do anything wrong. You gotta stop that shit. You have to weed out the bad apples. You say, oh, that was just 1% bad apples. Well, you know what? If the other 99% protect and shield and hide that bad apple, then you're all bad apples. Because you can't do that. You need to sacrifice them like the pieces of shit that they are. You need to say, we're not going to destroy people's lives over a health issue like drug use. It's simple. That's the first step. You say, we end the war on drugs today. Everybody's like, oh, we need money for mental health. And the DEA. There's billions and billions and billions of dollars for mental health. Boom. Right there. And the prison industrial complex for profit. That's why the drug war still goes on. Because politicians are bought and owned by the prison industrial complex for profit. It's simple. End the war on drugs. The war on drugs is a racist war on the American people. And remember who started the fucking war. You cops brought it to our neighborhood. You brought it to our children's schools. You brought it to our fucking front doors. You want to act like there's a war on cops? No, the cops started the war on the people of America. Fact. Now step up and do the right thing and say, we need to end that war on the people of America. And you know why they don't? Why they haven't yet? It's obviously a complete and utter failure that's destroying children's lives. You know why they haven't, besides the profit thing? Because the cops don't want to give up that power of saying, oh, I smell marijuana. I don't need a warrant. I'm coming in your house. I'm going to search your car. I smelled marijuana. You're all under arrest now. Don't even have to have marijuana. Cop just have to smell it. Which, you know, could be a complete figment of his imagination. Or her imagination. Figure it out. This is the problem. This is one of the huge problems. This lady just said, I want to end the police state. We want an end to the police state. That is what makes the police state. The war on drugs. The for-profit prisons. The judges getting kickbacks from the for-profit prisons. That's why they justify the militarization of police, because the drug dealers. Right, because you've allowed there to be drug dealers for 50 years, and the drug dealers have been allowed to make big piles of cash, which they have nothing better to do than go out and buy all the AK-47s and shit they can get their hands on. Unscrupulous people, you put drugs in the hands of unscrupulous people who will sell it to anyone to make money, and then you put big piles of cash in their hands. Good plan. This is 100% on you politicians. You're the reason this is happening. You're the reason. Democrats and Republicans are responsible for the state America is in. 100%. We should outlaw both of them. We should outlaw Democrats and Republicans. They should just go away or be put in prison. Because you know that they're getting money and kickbacks from the prison industrial complex and the military industrial complex and the surveillance industrial complex and the medical industrial complex, the alcohol complex. Of course. You're scum, you politicians. And the people are coming for you next. So you know. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Mike. This is my YouTube page. One of these days, this drug war is going to end. I seriously don't think it's going to happen with Hillary Clinton in the White House. Do you?
Compassion stirred the Buddha to send his monks out into the community. Sworn to chastity and poverty, they wandered the roads, bringing the Buddha's teachings into the world. Go forth, monks, for the happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world. There are beings whose eyes have little dust on them, who will perish if they do not hear the teaching. But if they hear the teaching, they will gain liberation.
The monks exist by begging. We think of begging as kind of a bad thing. Begging in this tradition is a good thing. It's a sign of spiritual purity.
You're not allowed to beg tomorrow's lunch today. Only today's lunch. Then you can't eat from noon until dawn the next day. Then you have to go out and get another lunch. And then in exchange for lunch, you give a lecture. Unless they say we don't want to hear about it, then you don't. But that's the only thing but that forces you to interact with the lay community.
And if you're not serving them, if you're not doing something useful for them, they won't put anything in your bowl, and that will be the end of your community.